Alright, so we'll go ahead and get started here. Good morning, DerbyCon.
Good morning.
How was everyone this morning?
Tired.
Yeah? Everybody get enough sleep? Yeah. That's good. That's good. So the name of this talk is Hack Yourself, Building a Pen Testing Lab for Fun and Profit. This talk kind of came out of a couple of different things. I had several customers ask me, how did you do that? Can you show me, but not do it to us again? Right. I had several coworkers, several friends, everybody go, I want to do what you do, but I don't know how to get started. So I thought, okay, we'll build a lab. Well, how do you do that? There's YouTube videos and all sorts of stuff, but there's not just kind of a ground level how-to. So this is kind of what this talk's about. So several years ago, Abraham Lincoln rode in on a bear holding an assault rifle. And as he was riding into war, he said these words, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." I don't know if that's necessarily true. I'm not a historian. Albert Einstein also had a great quote that's related to this talk. He said, "Any fool can know, but the point is to understand." So in our field especially, we can know how to do stuff, but the real gumption of it is to understand why it is we're doing it and why it is, how the things work the way they work. So this is goofball sitting in front of you. My name is David Boyd. I'm a pen tester red teamer for Contextual Security Solutions. I've worked in every field from, I've spent some time in the Army. When I got out, I went to, did some retail IT. I worked for the government for a while, did some finance, media, energy sector. I finally got tired of sitting in the hot, cramped cubicles and decided to do some consulting. I am a Christian, which means that I'm just a sinner saved by grace. I'm a husband. I'm a father of that 10-month-old right there. I'm a huge geek and a big gamer. And you guys remember the shell shock vulnerability from a little while back, right? So that kid came up with a new vulnerability called diaper shock. Or maybe it's the shock I didn't want to see. Buffer. Just a quick note here about Hackers for Charity. You guys have seen the shirts. You guys have heard a couple speakers talk about them. Johnny Long and his crew are doing an absolutely fantastic job, okay? If you haven't gone up and donated, please do. I mean, really and truly. They provide education. There's a training center, classroom. They've got a food for work program. There's all kinds of stuff going on over there. Please go donate. I think it's like $10. Can feed a kid for a month or something. So, go up and check it out. There's some cool journals, bracelets, and stuff. For the agenda for today, we're going to figure out the why we're setting up a lab and the how. I'm going to talk about some pen testing distributions that are out there. I'm going to talk about the various vulnerable VMs you can find out in the wild. I'm going to give you just kind of a broad overview of some recommended tools to get started playing with. I'm going to do a short demo, and then I've got a nice little rant I want to go on. So let's take a poll. If you don't mind, raise your hand. Who here learns better by reading about something? Opening a book and reading about it. Okay, a couple people. And who here learns better by the hands-on, by trying? Okay, yeah, there's a lot more folks there, right? And that's nothing against the book guys either, but especially in our industry, network security, any kind of pen testing, there's no better way. You can read books, and books are great, and I've got some recommendations at the end. But there's no better way of actually learning it than by doing it, than by the hands-on. So what is a hacking lab? Somebody came up and asked me that today. It's nothing more than just a place that replicates a real-world network. It's just a virtual sandbox for you to play in, completely cut off from the outside world, let you do and run your tools and do things that you need to. So why do you need to build a lab? Well, to get good. We all need to get better at what we do. The bad guys are getting better, so we need to get better, right? A couple more reasons. Skill set improvement. You can try out something new. So we're here at DerbyCon. We're seeing all these cool tools come out. We're seeing all these cool talks. I'm like, man, I really want to try that thing out that he did, but I don't have a place to do it. Go home, fire up your lab, download that new tool that he just demoed, try it out. You got to brush up on tactics. So if you have been in IT or network security for a while, Maybe you've moved up, maybe you're in upper management, project management, maybe you're not doing the pen testing stuff anymore. This lets you kind of go back. It's like riding a bicycle, it comes back to you. This lets you go back and kind of brush up on some of the old tactics, so that we can kind of stay fresh. I put on there proof of concept. That's great for customers. So if you're in a sales mode or you're just trying to finalize that contract or something, they say, oh, we need something. We need to know, what it is you do. This is great. This is we demo this all the time for customers. We'll throw up a WebEx, we'll throw up our lab, and we'll say, hey, this is just a very simple penetration testing attack that can happen on your network, in theory. And 9 times out of 10, that seals the deal. If any customers ever had any questions or they didn't know what a pen test was, that's done, right? And then coding scripting demonstrations for talks like DerbyCon. So these guys that you see that step up here and far smarter than me and demo these tools, they're doing it in a hacking lab. So, a little bit of side story here. Some CISOs, when there's a pen test going on, or you tell them, hey, we need to have a pen test, this is the attitude they get. Oh yeah, it's fine. Everything's on fire. The barn's on fire. I'm on fire, but it's all good, right? Whereas some CISOs wish they had this. The moment you mention anything security related or there's a blip on the network, they wish they had that. Shut down everything, kill switch, kill it all, right? A hack lab can help, I've noticed, put to ease some of the questions that some of the upper level management has about what does a security test entail. And above all else, don't be a script kiddie. Right? Thank you. Boo. Boo that man. So who here should build a lab? Well, anybody, really. Red team, blue team guys, any kind of IT personnel. If you're not in pen testing, you're not in security, if you're just a network guy or sysadmin, go build a lab. Go build a lab at home. Ask your upper management, see if you can build a lab in your environment. Recreate your environment so that you can troubleshoot some of the problems that you're having. I put on there C-level executives, so I want to see what PT looks like. This is really easy to do. If you are some kind of C-level guy and you're in charge of a technical team, you need to know what that technical team does. Really and truly, I'm not being harsh here, but you need to know what they do. You need to have a general understanding of what they do, and you need to be able to kind of do a little bit of it yourself. It's going to make you a more effective leader, and that's going to make you more effective for your customers, and it's going to get a lot more respect for your team. So just about that. Students, any kind of students, if you're in some kind of college course or something, home fire lab. And then anyone want to learn a new skill, essentially. So while this talk is more focused on the red team side of the house, DA667 on Twitter actually did release a huge, 135-page PDF on setting up a hack lab for blue team. And it's extremely in-depth. He talks about IPS, IDS, all sorts of stuff, setting up firewalls and things. So if you want to get into that, follow him on Twitter, find this. This is his pride and joy right now. He's kind of working on it. That'll help, my blue team guys. So what you need to build a hack lab? Well, you need about, 5,000 servers on Amazon Cloud, right? No. Back in the day, you needed a stack of servers like that, and actually, this could have been my bedroom a few years ago. Stack of servers, monitors, things like that. It was kind of hard to really build out a decent lab back then because we didn't have as well virtualization techniques. Now, with the advent of VMware and VMware Fusion and VirtualBox and things like that, you can literally build a lab on your laptop, a laptop that work's giving you, or on an off-the-shelf laptop from Best Buy or something. Obviously, the more power you throw at it, the better it'll be. We'll talk about that here in a second. But really, all you need is a laptop. You need some kind of virtualization software, like I said, VMware, VMbox, something like that. You need a couple of vulnerable distros to practice on, and then your laptop spits money at you. Not really. Don't focus on that. So just some kind of general, broad specifications. For a decent lab, on your laptop, you just need an i5, quad core. You can get by with an i3, but you're going to get a little bit of choke there. So try to get at least an i5. 16 gigs of RAM. Each VM that you fire up, some of the ones that aren't as graphics heavy, like Metasploitable and things, you can get away with just putting, half a gig or whatever in there. But some of the other ones, like Server 2012, you want to put at least 2 to 4 gigs. So, that 16 gig gives you kind of a nice little zone to play with so you don't get choked up too much. And then obviously you're going to need hard drive space to carry all these VMs because they are still kind of big. So you need at least 250. The more hard drive space you have, the more VMs you can make, the more space you have. So to build your hack lab, step 1, you just need a file archiver, right? All of the VMs out there that I know of anyways are zipped up in some kind of zipped format, right? So you need something like, for Windows you have WinRAR, 7-zip, I think WinZip might still be out there. You'll need a file archiver. They're free, go online, download, whichever one you want. I like WinRAR, but you get that, hey, pay us after 30 days thing. 7-zip is also good. For Mac users, you have Kika, or the unarchiver. I think Kika is like 99 cents, but it's great because you can zip and unzip and choose the format that you want to zip it in. Once you download and install that, on to step 2. Step 2, install your wizard. No. Step 2, go out and get some virtualization software. So for PC users, there's a couple of free options. You have VMware Player, kind of standalone, out of the box, works well. You also have VirtualBox, again, free, standalone, out of the box, works well, pretty easy to install. You also have some paid versions. Unfortunately for Mac users, we only get a 3-day free trial of VMware Fusion, which is the Mac version of VM Player. And for PC users, there's Workstation Player. The only difference between the paid and the free, really, is the ability to take snapshots. So as you're building these VMs and you're getting them all fired up and you're getting them all working, you can take a snapshot of it once you get it working. And then if you crash it, you hose it, you found this cool exploit, you accidentally knocked everything offline and you just can't recover it or you forget your password, you can revert back to that snapshot, come back to life, right? So you've got your unarchiver, you've got your virtualization software. Step 3, you need a pen testing distro. There's several of them out there. You do what you want, pick what you like. I like Kali Linux, but there's also Pen2, there's Backbox. For web app testing, there's Samurai WTF. For utility hacking, there's Samurai STFU. I think it's going to be reverted to the Control Things platform, but I'm not sure what's going on with that. And then if you want to do some forensics work, you can do Deft Linux for forensics. Back in the day, you had like Woolpix and iWax, and then it moved on, and you had Backtrack for a while, and the new thing now is Kali. So,
Have you used Blackarch?
Blackarch is another option, yeah. I haven't personally, but yeah, that's another option. And there's 1,000 other distros. Or, if you really want to, go out and build your own. Go download a Unix flavor of your choice and throw some tools on it. If that's if that's your thing, that's a challenge that you want to attempt, go for it. A lot of folks that I know roll their own distros. They don't like using their precompiled thing. As a totally unrelated side note, you guys know there's a lot of really bad crap going on in the world right now. Yeah, I mean it's I'm tired of seeing it on the news. If we could all find a way to be as happy as the kids in that picture, I think the world would be a much better place. And if that takes dumping Legos on the world, I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it. It would take a lot of Legos, but and again, unrelated. You guys chose to be here, and I sincerely appreciate that. If you don't mind, this is totally off. I just thought of this. Okay. If you don't mind, can you turn to the person next to you, shake their hand, hug their neck, whatever they're comfortable with, okay? And say, I appreciate you and I appreciate you being here. What he said. Give yourselves a hand, guys. That's what DerbyCon is about. Y'all, that warms my heart. No, that really does. That really does. Thank you, guys. Seriously, thank you. Okay. I get choked up a little bit. All right. So, this was a question that I had as I was developing this. I said, okay, So I've got my unarchiver, I've got my virtualization software. I'm not too comfortable, rolling my own ISO or trying to download an ISO. The kind folks over at Offensive Security have pre-compiled Linux distros that you can roll right out of the box, right? I said, well, where are they? How do I install them? So I made a quick little video. You just go to Kali.org, and then go over to your downloads page and click Download Kali Linux, right? You've got ISOs there if you want to try to roll your own ISO. You can also torrent them, if that's your thing. You've got weekly builds, and they've also got pre-built Kali Linux, VMware, and VirtualBox images. So you just click that link down at the bottom there, and it'll take you to the Offensive Security site. These are, owned and operated and maintained by Offensive Security, but they're totally free. And then literally, you can choose VMware or VirtualBox images. Easy to download, just click them, and start the download. They're ready to go right out of the box, no crazy setup or anything needed. At the most, you might want to change the password. Don't use default passwords.
You run your VMs off an external, right?
You can. I've noticed there's a lot of choke with that. And some of the older VMs, USB 3.0, there's not a lot of love there. So you can, if you can get it to work right, I run them off just my, own hard drive that's just on the laptop. I just have a folder where I just store them all, and it's good.
Will you put your slides online so we can get all these?
Absolutely.
Excellent, thank you.
Yes, I will definitely put my slides online, and I'm going to be possibly writing up a blog that's a little more in depth on how to do this. So
Wonderful.
be on the lookout for that.
Regenerate SSH keys?
Yes, you might want to regenerate your SSH keys because especially the pre-built from Offensive Security comes with its own pre-generated SSH key. Once you've extracted it, installed it, there'll be a VMX file in the folder that you extract. Double-click that VMX file. It'll pull up your VM player, your virtual player of sorts. And in VMware, it asks you, did you copy this or did you move it? So you just say, I copied it. After a few seconds, you've got a login screen. And that's all it takes. It's really easy, right? So you've got your unarchiver, you've got your virtualization software, now you've got your Pentesting distro. Now you need something to attack, right? There are several, probably hundreds of vulnerable VMs that are out there, right? There's Metasploitable, there's Morning Catch if you want to learn phishing, there's the OWASP broken web apps for web applications, there's also WebGoat. There's a website called vulnhub.com that hosts a lot of different, like challenge VMs and things like that. It has like Yatrix and PwnOS and different things like that. That's more geared towards the beginner. I like Metasploitable because it's intentionally vulnerable version of Ubuntu Linux. It has remote logins, backdoors, it's got vulnerable web services, it's got utility built in, default passwords, it's got all kinds of stuff. So you can literally just run whatever you want and go crazy with it. With a lot of these vulnerable VMs, right, I actually had a question out in the hall. Well, I've got a vulnerable VM, but I don't know what to do with it. There are guides out there written by some of the developers, right? Rapid7 put out a great guide for Metasploitable, written by H.D. Moore in Egypt, I believe. And it gives you a cool little step-by-step, here's some cool things you can do, right? It's kind of a cheat sheet. But if you feel like you need to follow along with the guides, that's okay. Everybody has to start somewhere. So go ahead and grab the guide. The Morning Catch has a great startup guide as well. If you want to learn phishing, download your phishing server of choice, download Morning Catch, and fish those guys. It's an actual real working phishing environment. There's also a white paper written up on Utility. If you're wanting to practice web app hacking, if you want to get better at SQL injection, cross-site scripting, stuff like that, there's a whole bunch of different write-ups, and Sans also did a write-up on using Utility. Some other unintentional, but still vulnerable VMs that are out there. Windows XP. Windows XP is still floating around out there. It's still floating around in customer sites. I've lost count this year of the number of sites I've been to that still had active Windows XP machines, right? Don't have Windows XP in your machines, guys. Seriously, just don't. But while it's still out there, go ahead and practice on it because it's really easy. It's easy to break. It's fun. Okay, it's out there. Windows Server 2012, I want to challenge you to build up your own domain. And, that takes a few minutes. It's a little bit challenging, but there's write-ups on how to do that. You can also get Exchange or Windows 7. Microsoft has made several of these available for free on a trial basis. So you can download it from a service like TechNet, the Developer Edge. You can download these evaluations, and they even tell you, hey, go ahead and take a snapshot of this so that you can revert back to it because it's an evaluation. So, they're all for it. They're like, yeah, use our product for free and go crazy. So like I said, TechNet has the server evaluations. The Developer Studio has a bunch of virtual machines for like IE8 and IE9 and things like that. So you can get a Windows 7 distro that way. There's the websites for the VMs if you want to go, look for them. And then, totally unrelated, but as I was doing this talk, I found this. Why does this exist? And why are there 4 million people watching it? I don't understand. So, as you're setting up all these,
What does it say?
What does it say? It says, the Windows XP startup sound slowed down to 24 hours. And it has, as of last night, it had over 4 million views. Why is that a thing? And I actually listened to some of it, and it was slowed down to 24 hours. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, they just slowed it down.
So it's low pitch.
Slow pitch, just yeah, it's crazy. As a side note, as you're downloading and installing all of these VMs, as you're getting them set up, do not expose them to the internet. Do not expose vulnerable VMs to the internet. If you expose vulnerable VMs to the internet, you're going to have a bad time. If you go out there and get an unpatched Windows XP machine, and you throw it on your network, and you just go crazy and forget to make it host only, you're going to have a bad time. So now you've got an environment, you've got a place to play, you've got so much room for activities. Man, now I can start hacking, right? Well, okay, what tools do I use? Well, there's 1,000 tools built into Kali and 1,000 scripts that have been released at places like DerbyCon and DefCon and B-Sides and things like that. So this is just kind of a general recommendation of some tools to start with. You've got Nmap. Any good penetration test starts with reconnaissance. So you want to do some reconnaissance with like Nmap or Masscan, right? Look for open ports and protocols. The kind folks over at Tenable let you have a version of Nessus called Nessus Home that is free for up to 20 IPs, I believe. So you can run a full vulnerability scan against your test network and start looking at vulnerability scan results, right? I put on there Kane. Just a few weeks ago, I had a customer, gave them a report. They saw an output with a whole bunch of clear text credentials. They said, how did you get that? I said, oh, I ran a tool called Kane. And he literally stood up and shook his head and went, Kane? He goes, that still works? Yeah, it works on your environment. It is a very old tool. It still works great. It works great in all environments that I've tested. You still get credentials, and that's because users still like to click. They're very click happy. So go practice with Kane. Go do some ARC poisoning attacks. Please do not go ARC poisoning /24. You're going to tick off some network ransomware. Responder is also great. I'm sure you guys have heard that spoken of a few times. That's a great man-in-the-middle tool. Sends a rogue wpad.dat file, so you can practice doing some man-in-the-middle attacks with that. Go get those yummy hashes from the users. Once you get all those hashes, you need something to crack them with. So I recommend practicing with something like John or Hashcat. Copy the hashes to a text file, run John, crack them, see what you get. There's a couple versions of Metasploit out there. There's the Community Edition, which is free, and the Paid Edition, which is paid. But it's built into Kali, right? It's built into several of these pen testing distros, and the free version works great. It's got plenty of exploits, it's got plenty of stuff to practice on. For social engineering, you've got SET, built by our very own Dave Kennedy, GoFish, SPF, FishMe. There's 1,000 different phishing and social engineering tools out there. They're all, most of them are free anyway. So GoFish and SPF are all free. So fire up that phishing box. Start practicing some phishing attacks. Figure out the best email layout that you like, that you know works and looks good, and that can really fool the user. Start kind of fine-tuning that. I've seen a lot of phishing attacks fail because either the email didn't look authentic, or it looked too real, or just something was off, right? You want to make the user as comfortable as they can as they're going about their day-to-day business, and they just see this email that says it's addressed from HR, and they go, oh yeah, I'll do that thing, click, and then you're in. For open source intelligence gathering, again, thousands of other tools out there. I really like Discover Scripts, written by Lee Bayer, I believe his name is. It is absolutely fantastic. It will just pull every bit of open source data you can from a website, spits it on a nice HTML file, lets you read it. It's great reconnaissance. It's also great information for the customer. If they've got a couple domains out there, and then there's somebody setting up a possible phishing attack, and they're squatting on a domain that looks like theirs, this will pull it, and you can look at it and you can say, hey, Google.com with 2 M's has been squatting for a while. Is that you guys, or do you want to go investigate that? Another great tool for PowerShell scripting is PowerShell Empire, for running PowerShell scripts and things like that. Dude talked about it this weekend. I mean, blows me away the stuff you can do with this. And then CrackMap Exec is a post-exploitation framework. It's really easy to use. It's really easy to set up and install. And you can run PowerShell scripts with it, as well as do reconnaissance and all sorts of stuff. It's kind of a good all-in-one utility belt toolkit. I really like it. And there are probably better ways of doing things. There's 1,000 other tools out there. These are just an example of a handful of some that I like, that I use, and I recommend people use. As an optional, as you're building out your lab, try to build a domain. So go out, get a version of Server 2012, build a domain controller up, add a bunch of users to it, make it as realistic an environment as you can. It's a little bit of a challenge, but it's nothing we can't handle, right? Peter Kim did a quick write-up on his website, thehackerplaybook.com, and he's got a nice little write-up about how to build out your own Windows domain. So you figured out how to go out and get it and install it. Here's how to build it up. Right? Once you get it all figured out, once you get it all installed, once you set everything to host only, you want to make sure that it all works, right? So you go through, and wow, that is really small. What I'm doing here is I'm just checking that all my VMs are set to host only, so that they are completely segregated from the internet. Everything's offline. It's all hosed and housed within my own system here. And then you go on your attacker platform, and you just want to ping all your systems to make sure they're up and they're working, and make sure you can talk to them. So that's just me pinging through them, make sure they work, make sure they all talk. You don't want to throw an attack out and then, oh man, the VM's not on, or VM's not working, or it's not talking. So, wow, whoops. Let me see that it all works. Cool. If it all works, congratulations. You have a working hack lab. Self-contained working hack lab, right? So, if all goes well, I'm going to show you guys my hacking lab, right? So let's see how this works. So this is my hacking lab. This is Wayne Enterprises. I've got a Kali Linux box spun up. That's my attacker machine. I've got the GoFish Morning Catch phishing server. I've got a Windows XP box. I've gotten Metasploitable 2. I've built out a domain controller with Windows Server 2012. And I've got another attacker platform. Several tools are only available on Windows. They aren't available on a Linux distro, so it's good to have a Windows 7 box out there. So I'm going to run you guys through just a really quick penetration test. This is something that I've done at a customer site, and it went almost exactly like this, right? We log in. Yes, I'm using default credentials. So you log in, and you've got your IPs here of your attacking machines. You go, okay, all right, well, let let me see what's open on my Windows XP box, for instance, right? So you just run a quick nmap scan. Let's see if that's going through okay. Yep. All right, cool. So just run a quick nmap scan for Windows XP box. Let's see what's open on it. Let's pretend like we don't know it's a Windows XP box. By the way, this is where having a little more memory on your host machine allows you to run these things a little bit better. So the more memory you have, the less throttle you're going to get, the less it's going to get choked up. And it's great. So, oh man, I found it. And I'm looking, and okay, well, they've got Telnet open, and looks like a 3389 RDP there. So, it might be a Windows box. But let's just double check here, make sure. Show for OS. Oh, it is a Windows XP box. How about that? Right? Windows XP, Professional, Service Pack 2, or possibly Windows Server 2003. So we know that Windows XP, unpatched, was highly vulnerable to MS-08067, right? So this is where we can load up Metasploit. So you just load it up with MSF console, and it'll take a second to run. So we've done our reconnaissance as this is loading. So first step, we've done our reconnaissance. We found a vulnerable machine. It's got Windows XP on it. Let's check it out. Metasploit Severance or something. I love it. I love this guy. So we're going to go ahead and just do a search for MS-08-067. I promise this gets more exciting. Alright, so you just use that exploit right there. So you just hit use, copy, paste. Now you're loaded up. So you've loaded up that exploit and you're going to prepare it for attack. So we know that our host was this 192.168.110.136. And we know it's up. So let's go ahead and just try it here. So we're going to show options. It says all we need is our host. So we're going to set our host, literally. And we're set, and then we just hit exploit. So this was a real thing. So quick story, this is load down. Quick story while I'm loading this up. I was at a customer site just a little while ago, and the customer said, "Oh man, yeah, we're good. We don't have any vulnerabilities. We don't have anything." They had several domains. I got the first domain in a few hours, second domain in a few hours. The third domain was taken. Man, it was just killing me. I couldn't figure out what was going on. So I did some more reconnaissance, couldn't find anything. I was like, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this. I did some reconnaissance on some IPs that I knew were in that range, but weren't necessarily specified. I found this box that was floating around out there. They said it was an old DVR box that they had totally forgotten about, right? So I, being the guy that I am, thought, okay, well, let me just kind of exploit that and see what's on it. So I ran this MS-08067, found out that the domain administrator had logged into it recently, right? And for whatever reason, they were using shared credentials. So I got those credentials and passed them on with crackmap exec, dumped the domain controller, all their passwords. It was great. And that's all right. So run your tag. Let's assume that we got some hatches, and then you can load up something like crackmap. Gives you a whole list of commands here. Once you've got some hashes, you can pass them with crackmap. fire it off, check the domain controller, dump the hashes from there, right? So that's just a standard attack. If you wanted to do something like a phishing server, you can load up something like GoFish, right? It's free, it's easy to download. Once you download it and install it, here's your phishing server, right? You can set it up, add your users, make a campaign, all this within your VM, right? You point it at your Morning Catch phishing server with Boy Genius and Richard Bourne there, and start phishing those guys. And you can look and see if it's actually working, are they getting them, click them, see what happens. It's great, right? And then, if you wanted to, you could even attack your exploitable box. So, we're going to see what's open on that. Again, good reconnaissance, right? Let me see, it's got a whole bunch of stuff open. It's got Telnet, SSH, SMTP, Shell, it's got all sorts of stuff, right? You go, okay, well, what can I do with all that? So, as I said, the kind folks wrote up a good little how-to, if I can find it here, on their website about exploiting an exploitable. So it's got, you know, here's how to log in, right? Here's a couple services that are found running on it. There's command to run, find all those. Some Unix basics, so you can like log in with them, get a root, right? And it's all written up to kind of follow step by step, so you can practice with that. As well as the Morning Fish guys, they got a good little setup for messing with Morning Fish there. So yeah, several bad puns later. Okay, yeah. So you've got your lab, you figured it out, you got everything working, you're practicing. If you want to do some additional training, there's a bunch of free tools out there as well. Again, the guys over at Defensive Security did a kind of a course online that's free called Metasploit Unleashed. That'll get you through everything you want to know about running Metasploit, how to do it, some cool secrets, backends, and things. And they even kind of give you, a little bit of help in building your own lab. Hack This Site is still relevant. It's kind of an older site, but it's good for training. It's good for web app. It's good for just general hacking stuff. There's also plenty of YouTube videos. All of the DerbyCon, DEF CON, B-Sides, ISSA, all these organizations have their videos out there, right? Go out and find them. Go out and see that talk. Build out that tool that guy just released in your lab. Try it out. There's also the SANS Cyber Aces, the InfoSec Institute. There's Cybrary. There's a whole bunch of other, various training and things that you can find online. Let's go forth and conquer. So, quick story for you guys, all right? Back in 1995, the movie Hackers was released, right? Great movie. I love it still to this day. I saw that as a young tyke, and I wanted to be those guys, man. I wanted to be Zero Cool. I wanted to be Lord Nikon. I was like, man, what do I need to do? How do I get there, right? And now here I am speaking of DerbyCon, so that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. You can't get where you want to go if you don't have the drive and motivation to get there, right? You've got to put in some work. You've got to have the drive. You've got to have the motivation. You also need to find a mentor, okay? A lot of this stuff you can learn on your own, but mentoring is so ridiculously important. When I was in the Army taught me a couple of things, several things, but a couple of things that stuck out were you train like you fight, and you know the person on the job above you and the person on the job below you. So if you're a sysadmin and there's a SOC team, learn those jobs. If you're a network guy and there's a sysadmin, learn his job. Figure it out. Build it out in the lab, right? You're only going to get better by improving your skill set and learning and growing. And part of that is through mentoring, right? If you have an advanced skill set, so you're really, really good at web app testing, and you see some guys that aren't, go help them out. Offer to, hey man, let me show you some cool things about web app testing. If you're a new guy or gal, if you're a new person to security, Go out and find somebody that's really, really good at something that you want to learn. Reach out and say, hey, I want to learn to do what you do. Can you show me? Offer to pay them, buy them lunch, whatever it takes, right? We can't get better by ourselves as well as we can getting better with each other, right? That's why we come to places like DerbyCon. That's why we come to things like DerbyCon. That's why we come to all these talks, because we want to get better. The bad guys are out there, and they're getting better. I promise you that. They're trying to kill your customers' networks. They're trying to steal sensitive data. They're trying to destroy whatever they can, right? And they're getting better, and they're training all the time. In order for us to better protect our customers, in order for us to better serve ourselves, in order for us to better serve our customers and our companies, we have to get better. And we have to help each other get better, right? So find a mentor or be a mentor. Don't keep your skill sets to yourself. Too often, in too many companies, I've gone to places where, man, we can't do A, B, and C because Jeff, that was there for 30 years, never taught us, right? And we don't know how it works. That's unacceptable. That is beyond unacceptable. If you're getting ready to go out, throw your skill set down. Sit down with somebody for a few weeks. Let me teach you everything I do. Let me make you the subject matter expert, right? If you're coming in, go find that guy that's been there for 30 years that's quiet with you by himself. Go find him, talk to him, say, hey man, I want to know everything you do. Teach me you, make me you, right? Just go out, find a mentor. Some recommended reading. Again, like I said, there are some great books out there. I have a massive library, and this is just a small sampling. The Hackers Playbook and Hackers Playbook 2, absolutely invaluable. I love those books. He gets into a little bit of lab building, but he also gets into a lot of tool development, how to hack, it's fantastic. George Wyman wrote a book about penetration testing, kind of a beginner's manual, as it were. That's also a great book. Dave Kennedy wrote Metasploit, kind of the Metasploit Bible. So I think No Star Express will have some copies. Don't get that. There's also Hacking the Art of Exploitation. Singers puts out a whole bunch of books. One of them is Professional Penetration Testing. That goes more in depth of building a lab a little bit different way, but also still works. If you're looking at doing some more social engineering gigs, some more social engineering engagements, Kevin Mitnick is kind of the godfather of all that. He wrote a bunch of books, Art of Intrusion and Deception and Ghosts in the Wires. Those are great as reference material to kind of go back and go, okay, well, that's a different way of thinking about things. If I'm trying to pretext a customer, if I'm trying to, work my way into the customer site, if I want to be the, that guy, let me read some books. Let me read about what other guys have done. If I want to be the next Jason Street, read about what Jason Street has done. Watch some of his talks, right? And then if you want to get into coding and development, go get Black Hat Python. I can't say enough good things about this book. It's fantastic. Yes?
Most of these are available at the No Star Press vendor tools, correct?
Yes. Most of these are No Starch Press books. Some of them are not. Some of them are other publishers. I think like the Art of Intrusion stuff. And then there's Singress. I don't know if they're partnered or if they're like competing or whatever, but Singress makes some great books too. I like books. I like everybody. It's all good. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for coming. I appreciate you guys coming. You guys can get it. I am at FireDog on Twitter, and there's my email address. Appreciate it. You guys have a wonderful rest of your DerbyCon.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was trying to pick up my grab, but I picked up your stuff.